right, so the rest of y'all from Texas. Good morning, Texas!
Morning!
Good morning, not Texas.
Good morning.
Where are you from?
Arkansas.
Arkansas. I was just there 2 weeks ago at Little Rock. I'll be there again in Northwest Arkansas for GlitchCon coming up. It's a great convention. They love Doctor Who fans, so if you get a chance, you should go. How do I know? Because I'm the guy hosting it. If I'm hosting it, it must be a good convention. Like this one! You guys are fantastic. I'll tell you what, this is my 3rd year. I'm Peter Pixie, your Master of Ceremonies. For those of you, how many is this your first convention ever? Some of this is your very first convention? Yeah, right, okay. And how many is this your first Doctor Who convention? Fantastic. You know, I waited 43 years for a first Doctor Who convention. It was 3 years ago here they invited me to host. So I was very excited. And it was for the 50th, and it was fantastic. We had a huge turnout, beautiful. And so thank you for letting me be a part of this once again. We've got 3 amazing guests from New Who. We're going to talk about not just things from their time on Doctor Who, but also their careers and what it's like to act in today's BBC. Because it's a little different than what we had with our classic Who people. So let's bring them on out. You guys ready?
Oh yeah!
All right, you got to wake up because it's good morning. Let's bring out some amazing guests. First of all, how many of you have ever watched Doc Martin? Any Doc Martin fans? Oh, several of you. Excellent. Then you will know him from the show as Bert Large. But you, for the rest of us, we of course have been watching him as Winston Churchill on Doctor Who. Please welcome Ian McNeice, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, all right. Now, there are only a handful of human beings who have been a part of classic Who and New Who. And we are very honored to have someone who can give us the differences between those two here today. We saw him appearing with Colin Baker in The Revelation of the Daleks and with David Tennant in Rise of the Cybermen and Age of Steel. Please welcome to the stage, Colin Spaull, ladies and gentlemen. Our next guest and our final panelist for this particular panel. You know, he's done quite a bit. Any Harry Potter fans out there?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you might remember him as the Fat Friar from the Harry Potter movies. And he's also the author of My Dalek Has a Puncture, which he'll be talking about. But we know him best as the intergalactic black marketeer, or should I say blue marketeer. Ladies and gentlemen, Dorian Maldivar, Simon Fisher-Becker.
I'm being Tafros today. Just block me out with the wheelie, baby. Yeah. There we go. Oh, am I backing into someone?
No.
Oh, you're good, you're all good.
Unless you want to.
You're all good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can I have the orange ice?
Yes, I'll have it. Here's the orange ice cream. This for you. Sure.
All the way from Top Gear, we have.
Well, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Oh, no. All right, well, I'm going to get the ball rolling with some questions about how things are going in England. How are things going in England?
What, work-wise or?
Work-wise, yes.
Work-wise, nothing.
Nothing.
No, I'm not done anything for a while actually, but I might be doing some Big Finish shortly, hopefully. But apart from that, no, I'm just enjoying, just come off a cruise, the Doctor Who Caribbean cruise out of mine, which was very nice.
So you got to do not only a cruise, but a cruise with a whole bunch of people who want to just hang out with you.
Yeah.
Oh, that must be tough.
Tough.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Thank you. How about yourselves?
I did the Doctor Who cruise too.
Oh, how was that?
And it was amazing. We went to some fantastic places in the Caribbean, talking to some very nice people who were very big fans of Doctor Who, which was great. It's not bad, is it? Let's face it. I mean, that's not like work, is it? Which is great. No. But luckily, we're going to be making another 2 series of Doc Martin, which is fantastic.
Yeah!
That's great. And also, I'm going to be making another box set of the Churchill years. For Big Finish. So that's very cool. So all is looking good in that department. Over to my friend on the scooter.
Yes, indeed.
I've not been on a Doctor Who cruise. But I'm going to be on another one, Lashcon cruise, in January. So I'm looking forward to that. What's coming up? A film has been threatening to go into production for 2 years now, called Dark Ascension. It started life as Welcome to Purgatory, and it's going to be a trilogy, and it's another sort of a Buffy meets the Matrix, you know. It's the usual guff, you know, the gates of heaven and earth have opened and the world is in turmoil, and all the characters are named as what they are rather than who they are. So for example, there's the guardian angel, there's the heavenly man, and I'm the obese demon. I can't quite work out why I was cast for that. Anyway, so the latest now, so it all started 2 years ago, and now it's all going to be filmed in June and July, hopefully. So, then I'm currently touring with My Dalek Has Another Puncture, which those of you who saw My Dalek Has a Puncture last night, you'll get another dose. Well, that's the wrong word to use, really. But yes, I'll be doing that, so I'm touring with that, so it's all very exciting.
Very nice. Yeah, very nice. So, you've been working in Doctor Who, well, not just Doctor Who, but you've been working in theater and in television over in England for many, many years. And between what you were doing with the BBC back with the Resurrection, the Revelation of the Daleks, and with the new productions, what are the differences that you've come to appreciate?
Well, I don't know whether appreciate's the right word actually, because the main difference, I get asked this an awful lot at conventions, and the difference between doing the classic and the new is rehearsal time. When we started doing the original one I did with Colin Baker, we all turned up at the rehearsal room on the Monday morning. We sat around a very large table, we all had coffee, and we read through the script. And at the same time, a rough timing was taken, so they got a rough idea how much the episode was going to run. And then we would block all the scenes, scene by scene, and then after that, the rest of the time was taken up with rehearsals. So therefore, you get to build on your character, you get to see what the other actors are going to do, and maybe you can bounce off of them, you can get something from them which helps your character in a certain scene. But now you go up to Cardiff, you need to have a predetermined character in your mind, and you just get on with it and do it. It's not exactly that. It's not exactly you just shove it in front of a camera and say action right next shot. You get a camera rehearsal and you get a line run. But as far as being able to gel with the other actors, that no longer exists, I'm afraid.
So it's gone from being more of acting being represented as an art to acting being represented as a commodity.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I'll go along with that.
Yeah. Till we overthrow the overlords, that'll be the way it continues.
Yeah, it's looking that way, isn't it?
Well, and what about you with your time as Churchill? We talked a little bit about that yesterday, but you got cast as Churchill because of what you were doing previous to that.
Yes, it was a funny thing because I actually stopped. In my early days, I did an awful lot of theatre, including 4 years with the Royal Shakespeare Company, ending up on Broadway with Nicholas Nickleby, which was that landmark show that ran 9 hours in the theatre, extraordinary. But anyway, so round about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, my agent rang and said, you've been offered something. And I said, oh, that's nice. What is it? And they said, it's a theatre job. And I went, oh. And I hadn't done any theatre for 17 years, because I had 2 or 3 kids, and I had to look after them, and put them through college, and theatre pays so badly, and I went, oh, it's a theatre job. They said, hang on, it's a national theatre, which is pretty nice. It was to be a play about Harold Macmillan, who was one of our prime ministers, played by Jeremy Irons, terrific actor, and they wanted me to play Winston Churchill. And I went, oh, Winston Churchill, that sounds pretty interesting. I got the script, I loved the script, and so I did the play. Stood on that stage at the National Theatre in front of 1,000 people on the first night, absolutely bricking it. I mean, I was terrified. And then started to enjoy it more. And then people from Doctor Who came to see the show. There was producer, casting director came along, and they were looking for someone to play Winston Churchill in their show. And lucky enough, I got the role, so that's how I got it. That's how I got Winston.
So it's starting to become a bit of a typecast? Is that?
Do you know what? It didn't stop there, unfortunately, because I mean, having done that, then I got up with a play again, another play in the West End. This time, a recreation of The King's Speech, the movie with Colin Spaull, the same writer. Interestingly enough, how that came about, how the movie came about, was that the writer had put together a few actors together in a little pub in North London to read his play. And he read the play, but actually in the little auditorium at the time was the mother of the film director who later made the movie. And she rang him, his name was Irving, and said, I think I found your next movie. And of course, instead of it becoming a play, it became a movie, and the rest is history. It won Academy Awards for the writer, director, actor, Colin Spaull. And so a few years later, the writer, who'd always wanted to do it as a play, got together a group of people, producers from America, and we put the play on. And luckily enough, the Winston character was much better written in the play than it was in the movie, so that was nice for me. So I played him 3 times now, absolutely 4 now, because of Big Finish Productions. The Churchill Years, which is available only in the room next door. So, and I will sign it for you. If you get your copy, come along to me afterwards. And for a modest fee, I will sign it for you. So it's a win-win situation.
Winston Churchill situation.
Oh! Give him a round of applause for that.
Simon. Yeah, sorry, my over-exuberance got you excited there. Yeah, you're live now. Okay. I have a question for you. When you have the experience of acting just as a head, how was that? I mean, and the reason why I ask, and I'll put it in context, Tim Curry, as we all know, a brilliant actor, when he was in Legend, have you ever seen Legend, the movie? He's got all the prosthetics and everything. Well, the only thing, in an interview, he said the only thing that was his lips, and he acted the crap out of his lips. That's all he had, because all the rest were prosthetics. So, in a box with just your head, you're kind of limited to your acting, to just your face, right?
Well, yeah, I had to develop a style of performance ahead of its time. I'm here till Tuesday.
Don't tell me that's the first time you've used that old guy.
Yeah, I was rehearsing it in the shower this morning.
And the rest.
And the rest. No, it was very strange. I don't know about other actors, but when I get a script, I can visualize what everything has to be, and I'm constantly thinking of a backstory for whatever character I play. And this really stems from the lack of rehearsal we have now. As Colin was saying, you know, when you had rehearsal, we had time not only to think about your character, but to work it out with the other players as well. But now on TV in particular, there isn't really that time. So you have to think. So you're trying to find things, and of course it's just my head. And I'm thinking, oh, right, okay. So. But it wasn't until they put me inside this giant box, and as I just did now, I moved my arms around. It was only at that point I realised I won't be able to move my arms around. Oh, no. So then they put Dorian's box on, and suddenly the place got very dark, and I couldn't hear properly. And that's when I thought, shit, I won't hear my cue lines. And then it suddenly dawned on me, I'm going to have to just use my face to make the expressions. And how am I going to do this as well as project, without it sounding or looking hammy, you know, overdone. And that's when you have to rely on the team around you. We did one take as a test for the camera, and this thumb came round in view, like that. And the sound crew said it was okay. It was claustrophobic, I sweated a lot, and when they closed the lid, oh God, it was hot. It was like sitting in a sauna. It was only then I realised how much hot air I've got. And they, you know, just before you get a take, they'd say, right, ready? So you get yourself ready, the door is closed, and then silence. I'm waiting for action, but what it is, they buggered off to have another conversation. And then Matt Smith, bless him, oh, Simon, we forgot about Simon. As he opened the door, I could actually hear, very weird. So, but it was, yes, but everybody were very kind. They let me know if I was crap or not. But the other thing is, nobody talks to you so much now. I don't know if Colin and Ian will confirm. What my experience was, I was sent the script, we did a read through, and then there was no real conversation. Previously, I'd been used to the idea of talking to at least someone about the character development and everything and what style we wanted to be. But I was more or less left to do it. With the iconic line, the only statement that was made was, we're going to do this 4 times, can you give us 4 options? So each option was just one take, and the one you know was the one they chose. It was as simple as that. So really we have to perform on inspiration and experience, really. I think that's what it is. It almost feels like, yeah.
You have to work on instinct.
Yes.
And
a good script helps you with that.
Yep. So it used to be the director would get a lot involved in what he wanted and how to get it, but John, you're saying that's not the case.
Well, I'm only saying that was my experience.
Your experience,
so
right.
I'm not saying it is the general form.
Right. Well, and you have been acting, Colin, since you were 10?
Yes.
That's you started because it's what you wanted to do, and then you
Yes, I did. I always wanted to be an actor. I think when the actual thing, I wanted to be a clown. I wanted to join a circus, and I wanted to be a clown, but that never materialised. But I went to drama school, and that's how I started my career. I used to the drama school I went to was an agency as well for kids, you know, for children working in television or films. So I started doing sort of kids playing in the street. A film or a telly or something, and then the BBC, I heard that, well, my agent at the time heard that the BBC were going to be doing serialisation of Great Expectations, Charles Dickens's Great Expectations, and I went along with about 75,000 other kids at my age for the part of Pip, and I got it. So that was my first major role, was Pip in Great Expectations for the BBC, and I went on to do the classic series after that. In the afternoons I did a thing called Heidi. I don't know if anybody knows about Heidi. I played Peter the Goatherd. I did The Secret Garden, I played Dickon, and then I did, I can't, as a child actor.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah.
But you just never stopped, did you?
No, fortunately, yes, it was good for me. I made the transition. A lot of child actors don't make that transition from being the child actor to the young man actor and into the older actor, but fortunately, I seem to weather that.
Yeah, and you're all 3. What are they called? Jobbers. I mean, you guys just you kind of early on took what you could to make ends meet.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the character of a jobbing actor. You want to work as an actor. That's what you want to do. And if stardom beckons, if international stardom beckons, then that's great. That's a perk. But just to work and to be able to pursue your craft. And I still find it quite strange that people want to pay me to do something that I really like doing.
Interesting. What about you, son? With acting and such like that, where did you get your start?
Well, I sort of came to it a bit later. I was in my mid-20s before I sort of decided to actually go for it. And I don't know, I was always lucky. Because everybody told me how difficult things would be, and don't get me wrong, to go started, it is very difficult. But I don't know whether it was my personality or my size or something, but I always seemed to work every year. I'd have something. And that in itself helped, because a lot of my peers who were in my drama college are no longer performing at all. They've all given up because they had a year, 18 months with no work at all, and they became solicitors and school teachers and firemen instead. Whereas I think, and I have to accept, there is a huge amount of luck. And I was lucky that I always did something every year, even if it wasn't working for the whole year. And that kept me going. So when I did feel low, when there wasn't work, I could say, well, I did that. I had that to do. And I was always knew that there was something coming up. You know, there were periods later on, we had no idea. You started reading the obituary column to see if your name was there. But that was it for me. I just applied for things, and then when I got an agent, I went for auditions. I was always auditioning, and I had a reasonably high hit rate, so I was very lucky. Yeah. But no, luck is, I mean, and so when it comes to Dorian, for example, I was lucky that Stephen Moffat wrote a part for a large actor. I was lucky that the casting director contacted my agent. I was lucky that I was actually called in for a casting along with 7 other roly-poly actors. I was then lucky that I was the chosen one. And then I was lucky that the character caught the imagination of the fans. And it was that luck that made Stephen Moffat think more about him and bring him back. So, and because of that, I then got invited to this wonderful world of conventions. And I joke with my family, you do realise I'm an international star. I travel the world. And it's, you know, and it's true. I literally true. I have an American working visa. You know, and it is quite extraordinary, and I do pinch myself, and I consider myself a very lucky person indeed.
Well, we appreciate that. And how about you, Ian? How'd you get started?
I'd just like everybody to realise that Simon has, on his Facebook, 3,000 friends.
Oh.
So please ask him to befriend you at the end of this event, because he will befriend you, and then he'll say, oh, I'm coming to Dallas, can you take me out for the day? So you'll find that, and it works very well all over the world. He's got friends in Australia, New Zealand, and anywhere he goes, there are friends who pick him up at the airport and take him out for a tea or sausages or something like that.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll have to do that. I'll do that.
But I have these friends, and I thank every one of them for my new bathroom.
And you'll get a Christmas card. You'll get Christmas cards along the way, I promise.
Oh, good. Now, you said you hadn't done theatre in, what, 17 years?
Yeah, well, you know, I did theatre at school, and I loved it so much, and I thought, that's what I want to do. And my father was terrified because he wasn't in the theatre, he didn't know anything about it. He wanted me to do a proper job, so he took me to a vocational guidance organisation in London, where I had to tick all these boxes, and then it told you what they thought would be the best career for you. And at the end of it, I got these 2 careers, and I got one was a journalist, and the other was an estate agent, and I think in America it's a realtor. I think it's a realtor. And my father jumped on this and said, you know what, be a realtor because you get Thursday afternoons off and you can play golf. Where he got that idea from, I got no idea. But my first job was at a theatre in Salisbury in Wiltshire, beautiful, tiny little theatre, and I was an assistant stage manager. Made the tea, swept the stage, and all the rest of it. My very first job was for the production of Cinderella, which was a pantomime in England, a pantomime. And in Cinderella, Simon would be playing one of the ugly sisters, which he did for many years. But not in this production, but he did that for many years doing pantomime. But pantomime that I was involved in, I had to go along. In Cinderella, there's a coach, and there are 2 little ponies. And at the back of the theatre, there was a little coal bunker where they kept the 2 little ponies for the show. And my job was to go and muck out the ponies every morning. And I thought to myself, I can't get any lower in the theatre than shoveling the shit, which is what I was doing. It was a one-way trip up, and that's how it happened. But that's how I began.
That is a great origin story, isn't it? I'll tell you. Well, guys, thank you for sharing your introductions and everything like that. We will be taking questions. You guys have some. Why don't we line up over here and I'll grab a microphone so you guys to ask. All right.
Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be for? It's going to be for...
This question is for...
Go ahead. It's on.
Okay. This question is for Mr. Colin.
Me?
Thank you.
What's it like to play naughty and then turn around and get killed by a Cyberman?
To play noddy, you say? Yes. Right, this is the bane of my life that this young gentleman has thankfully brought up. Goodness gracious. Does anybody know Noddy? It's an Enid Blyton story about a little character with a head that's on a spring and a big hat with a large bell. It's something that's maybe it's uniquely English, I don't know. But I happened to play Noddy. I was about 12, I think it was, and it was put on in the West End as, for about 6 weeks every Christmas as a matinees. And it was called Noddy in Toyland. And I played the lead in that. And it's nowhere to be found on my biography, but it can be found via a deep search from IMBD or it's called. It is there somewhere. But well, thanks for bringing that up. But there is a slight difference between being killed by a Cyberman and Noddy. The difference being at the age, I was about 11, and then I was killed by a Cyberman at about 42. So that's your answer. A great question, my friend. Thank you.
Come back. Get back on the microphone, because I've got a question for you. How on earth did you know about Noddy?
Yes.
My mom told me.
Well raised. Well raised. All right.
Is that the mother there?
It plays in America.
Yeah, please.
Oh, yes, is it?
Yes.
Oh, lovely.
Now, just to follow up on that real quick.
Yes.
I mean, like you said, you were 12 and then you were 42, and you're playing these different characters, different characters, but they're both in very fantasy-esque lands.
Yep.
So, is it very surreal? I mean, does it feel kind of the same way in that kind of fantasy kind of feeling?
Do you know, I really don't know. Such a long time ago that Noddy was there. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, possibly, I suppose. Yeah, I much preferred working with a Cyberman than I did with Mrs. Fluffy Cat and Mrs. Fluffy Bear, who were main characters in the story.
Well, hello, Doctor.
Hello.
What question do we have?
I would like to ask all of you, what is your favorite alien or your favorite villain?
From Doctor Who or just from anywhere?
From Doctor Who.
All right.
I quite like, there's a couple actually, I quite like the Weeping Angels. They were never in any of my episodes, so I wasn't in any of their episodes. But the Weeping Angels I find quite creepy in the way that you know, don't look at them, that sort of thing. And of course the Cybermen, which when I first worked with the Cybermen, when I came out of my little trailer thing, and there they were huge, they were so intimidating. So I've got a couple there, so I think that the Weeping Angels and the Cybermen were close up to the Cybermen.
I'm going to say, because I work with them, I was absolutely thrilled to bits when I opened up the script and realised that I'd be working with Daleks, which is such an iconic Doctor Who thing. So to actually do an episode which contained Daleks, and my Ironsides, as I call them, was Winston Churchill. And to tell you a little story that happened on the set one day was that Matt Smith had to attack one of the Daleks in the sequence, and he was given 2 ratchet spanners. It was long spanners, and one was a metal one, a real one, and one was a rubber one. And he had to hit them at various times with both of the spanners. Until what happened on the day was you heard suddenly from inside the Dalek going, "No! No, that's the wrong spanner!" Because he attacked the Dalek with the metal spanner on top, and you could hear this little operator inside going, "Oh, no," as the ratchet spanner banged around his head. So that, yeah, the Daleks and me.
For me as a child, the Mind Robber and the Sea Devils and the Cybermen were the things that stuck in my mind. And again, in the new Who, it is the Weeping Angels. I hope the whole concept of them, particularly with Blink, I thought was brilliant. But the worst villain, I think, is Michael Grade, who stopped Doctor Who. So I always stick a pin in a toll that I named Michael Grade.
You've been holding on that for a while, haven't you?
Oh, yes. And of course, I was also as a kid, I was fascinated with the Master, having been such an evil character. But the more you watch the Master, and particularly with John Simmons, I thought, was that there was a lot more to the Master. Again, another character who is not as evil, or at least more recently, we found out the root cause of his evilness. So I liked that.
You know, I do enjoy understanding characters, but also sometimes, and this is one of the things I've noticed in new television, is we constantly want to make sure we understand everybody's point of view, including the bad guys. Which, you know, and I think that's great because, one, you understand the motivation, but also it kind of takes away from some of the, well, you can't project your own insecurities into that character because he has his own. So I think in some ways we lose that. But speaking of the Master, who is one of my favorite characters, here you go, Master. Oh, you're welcome.
My question is for Ian. What is it like working with Martin Clunes, and how does it compare working with Lenny Henry?
Okay. Well, for those of you who don't know, I did a series called Chef with Lenny Henry, which was a terrific series, in which I played an alcoholic chef myself, called, which is coming back to me. Oh, anybody remember my name in that? What was it? Gustave Laroche, that's right. Gustave Laroche, who was in fact from the East End of London, and nothing abroad like it sounds. He was a sort of cockney boy, really, called Gustave Laroche. But I always remember I had to say at the end of the sort of first episode we did, as I sat in the set, saying, "My name is Gustave Laroche, and I am an alcoholic." And he was indeed. He used to cook with wine, and he used to drink most of it, and then pour the little drips in at the end. But it was a wonderful character to play. Lenny Henry, consummate actor, and a great series to make. But my favourite, obviously, is Martin Clunes in Doc Martin. And Martin is nothing like the character he portrays. In this series called Doc Martin, for those who haven't seen it, it's rather like Northern Exposure. There's this doctor who travels to this place in the middle of nowhere, and he's totally out of his comfort zone, and there are all these wonderful, weird and wacky characters that come along and really give him such grief. He has the worst bedside manner you could believe, this doctor. And consequently, it's very funny. It really works, and we are so fortunate to have made 7 series already, with another 2 still to come. Martin Clunes is one of the nicest, kindest people you could possibly meet. He's nothing like the guy, as I said, nothing like the guy he plays. And it's extremely funny. Men Behaving Badly was another series he made early on, which was excellent too. And he's a dog lover, huge dog lover. So I now believe there are people who come to the, we have at least, when we film, about 200-300 people a day watching us film in the village. And I swear people are now renting dogs to come into the village so that Martin Clunes will stop filming and talk to the dog and say hello to the dog. Because that's what he does. He has to see a dog, he can't work anymore. He has to talk to the dog, say hello to the dog. Amazing. So thank you.
That's a good question. Hi, River. What do you got for us?
What do you think was the most difficult part about working on Doctor Who?
We'll start on this end.
Nothing. For me, I'm a fan who was in the show. I was when I did the Pandora Opens with River Song. Alex Kingston has the most fascinating eyes and hair. You just want to run your fingers through it. But I was terrified because I just didn't want to mess it up. That's all. But to say it was difficult, no. Nerve-wracking, yes. But I feel I've joined a little family, and there is a stern dad at the top, you know, and as long as we behave ourselves, we turn up and we do exactly what's expected of us, everything's hunky-dory. I cannot say, for me, anything was difficult at all.
We are extremely fortunate because now Doctor Who has become such an iconic show. Anybody, they could choose anybody they want. The level of actors now in the show, Michael Gambon, John Hurt, is incredible. So that's the strata you're living at. So to be part of it to begin with is a huge compliment to the actors who are brought in to appear in it. So that's great. But I agree with Simon that nothing hard about it, but it is nerve-wracking. Because you are at a level which is quite a high level, and you have to stick at that level, otherwise you drop the ball. So it is nerve-wracking.
I'm in total agreement. It is nerve-wracking, but it's a joy. It doesn't feel like work in some respect, but it's a total joy, and especially with directors like Graham Harper, people like that. It's lovely, so it's not hard work at all, and it's brilliant.
Thank you for your question. That was really good. Hello, Doctor. Or actually, that's good.
My question is for Ian. You've done Winston beautifully, but you've also done a couple of other war things, and I wonder how you figured out and worked through the history for your character to actually show that you're living in the time, not only for Doctor Who, but for perhaps The Englishman.
Oh, The Englishman went up a hill and came on a mountain was
beautiful film.
It was a movie I made with Hugh Grant. Just before he had that trouble in LA. I don't want to bring it up now, obviously, but he was a little naughty boy there. But it was all before that, and my fond memories of Hugh Grant was in the makeup department, where he had every single tabloid paper brought to him in the morning, and he'd flick through the paper just finding articles about himself, because he was just about to become very famous for 4 weddings and a funeral. And he was just on the cusp of that, so he was desperate, and then all be thrown on the floor as the next one be open, try to find any articles on him. He loved all that stuff. So great movie, absolutely. And you're alluding to my Nazi characters, are you, in Conspiracy and Valkyrie? Is that what you...
Pretty much so, but you did closer to Churchill in The Englishman, because you were on, obviously, the Allied side. But how did you actually try to get your head around being the right person on the right side of the war for your particular character?
Oh, what, for the...
Churchill?
Well, I'm saying for all of them, because you've done Churchill, you've done A Man in the Trenches, which was The Englishman, you've done a Nazi, you've done... And each side thought they were right, so how did you get into that idea?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. What do I say to that? I don't know anything after that.
Instinct? Wow, that's a complex question. So, is there a lot of, are you a method actor? Do you do a lot of research?
You know what, a method actor cracks me up, because, I mean, I did a movie in Australia with Ray Liotta, right? Now, Ray Liotta is a wonderful, wonderful actor. He did a fantastic movie, and I'm trying to remember it now. Do you know the one I mean? Goodfellas. Absolutely right. Alzheimer's is kicking in early in my life. But, and he was a method actor, and it was extraordinary to work with this guy who actually turned up on the day, and if it was a good day in the script, he would actually say hello to you and say, hello, hi, Ian, how's it going, all the rest of it. But it was a bad day in the script, you couldn't get near him. And this is the method that goes with these actors, that they really do take it very seriously. Daniel Lewis, for a start, where they totally become this character for the day, and you can't talk to them, and they are in a world of their own. And English actors just turn up and do it, don't we? That's what they do, yes.
Right, let's get this going then.
I'll talk to you later. That lady, I'll talk to you later. We'll have a little chat about it.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Hi. How are you?
Which doctor would you work with besides the doctor you worked with?
Oh. Which doctor would you work with besides the ones you have? Now, Colin, you've worked with 4 doctors total.
I've worked with 5 doctors.
5? Oh, okay.
I was at a convention a little while ago, and somebody said, "Oh, you worked with 5 doctors?" I said, "No, 4." But it turns out that I worked with William Hartnell, and I'd forgotten all about it.
Goodness me! Wow! Round of applause for that.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a thing called Heavens Above, which was a Bolton Brothers comedy with Peter Sellers, and William was in it, yeah, that was.
So, which doctor, instead of actor, but which doctor would you like to work with?
I would quite like to work with Patrick.
Yeah.
It just seems. Yeah, I would love to work with Patrick. I obviously never had a chance, but that would have been my doctor of choice. But I'm not saying. I mean, Colin was lovely, and I adore Colin, and also David. It was great to work with. But someone I haven't worked with it would be Patrick Chan.
And how about yourself?
I've been fortunate to work with a lot of the doctors. I mean, David Tennant. I did a movie called Nativity 2, so I worked with him on that. I worked with Peter Davidson on The Last Detective. I worked with Matt Smith, obviously, on that, and Tom Baker. I worked with him on a Big Finish production, so, and Paul McGann on a Big Finish. So a lot of doctors I've worked with already, but the one that I would like to work with would have been John Pertwee, so that's the one for me.
Merci. And yourself?
Well, yes, I mean, John Pertwee was going to be my answer to that one. But I would like to have worked with them all. And I have been talking to Mark Gatiss that Dorian would not have sold his vortex manipulator without checking that the goods work. So I've been sowing the seed that Dorian could appear anywhere at any time now. And none of us actually know which was the first doctor Dorian met.
That's true.
And of course, his first doctor may have been a doctor to come.
This is also true.
So I've been sort of slowly building these ideas. At the moment it's falling on stony ground, but you never know. So the actual answer, I would like to work with all of them. I consider all the actors who played the Doctor to be very fine actors indeed. And I've been very... my ego has been very well massaged by all the fans saying how well I did as Dorian. But I can tell you it's because I was working with Matt Smith and Francis Barber, the people I had to work opposite, who I absolutely respected. And so you automatically, even if it's subconsciously, say to yourself, shit, I've got to raise my bar. And it is work with quality and you become quality.
Yeah, you are what you do, right?
Absolutely.
Hi. John Nathan Turner doing Tom Baker. Come here. Sorry.
This is a question for Simon. What was it like being painted all blue? And were there any challenges dealing with that makeup on the set?
Yes. Thank you. What challenges did you find?
Well, no, there wasn't a challenge. The first thing that happened was that Stephen Moffat asked me if I would have my head shaved. And of course, and this was at the read-through of the Pandorica Opens. I've never been in Doctor Who before. I would like to come back. Where does no come into your answer? So then I subsequently found I was paid £35 to have my head shaved. I paid less than 12 quid for my haircut, as you can see. So I was very lucky. So then they shaved my head, put on a barrier cream, and then they put on this blue makeup, which was fine. But then they decided to put on a fixing agent, which is like hairspray. And they spray it on, and the first thing is it tastes vile. And then the second thing is really, really sticky. And so my fingers stuck together, and as you have to pull them apart, and all day I wanted to wash my hands. You know when you just want to wash your hands? Well, imagine being like that for 14 hours. You start thinking of becoming Howard Hughes. And so that was the really uncomfortable thing with the makeup. The other thing was they put a black eyeliner on my bottom lid, which reacted with my eyes, and so they watered. And everybody said to me, how is it you were able to get such glistening eyes? I said, well, stick a mascara brush in your eyes. So makeup-wise, that was it was sticky. And even now thinking about it, I need to go to the restroom.
It's all sticky. Yes. We're coming, this is it, we've come down to it. So I'm going to just kind of open the floor, because out of all the time that you've spent both acting and just being a part of the machine of acting, what's the one thing you would tell a new actor besides don't? So give it some thought and share your answer as you will.
Learn to type. Sorry, did I interrupt?
No, not at all, mate. Yeah. No, I get a lot of young actors come and ask me, have you any advice? And I really have no advice. It's something that a lot of actors say to prospective actors, which is what I say. He says, learn your lines and don't bump into the furniture. That is anything I can offer them, really. But then again, in all seriousness, be true to yourself. If you believe in yourself, then that's fine. You're going to be kicked in the butt, God knows how many times during your career. But if you have belief in yourself, get up from that kick, carry on, and if you really want to get there and really want to do it, I'm sure that at some point you will.
when I was at school, I was about sort of 17, I did this play called Charlie's Aunt, in which I played a wonderful character called Lord Banquo Babbling, wonderful comedic part. And I was at school, and an actor, a real actor who came to the school to see the performance, had been at my school, and he came to, and my father, who had come to watch the show, found out that this actor had come to watch the performance, and he nailed him after the performance. He had him up against the wall, saying, what do you think? Do you think my son has got it in him to become an actor? And there was this long pause while the guy looked at him and said, I really don't know. But all I can say is if he doesn't try it, he'll regret it for the rest of his life. And it was the most wonderful thing he could have said, because he had no idea if I could have been an actor. And so I started on the journey. And the thing that I would say to any young person who wanted to become an actor, who wanted to do it, you have to really, it's got to be a vocation. It cannot be something that you do as a job. You can't do it because you are going to be turned down at every conceivable corner. You're going to get disappointments, you're going to want to go up for a role, you're not going to get it, go up for a role, you're not going to get it. And you're going to be out of work for some times, for considerable times, and you've got to really want, you have to have a passion. You have to really want to do it, because otherwise it's going to destroy you. So it's a very tough profession, and it's something that if you want to do, you must bear all that in mind. And go to drama school. That's the other one I would say. Go to drama school, get some formal training before you head out. That's what I would advise.
Formal training, good answer. Yes.
I agree with everything that's been said. Nowadays, you have to have a show reel of some sort or a demo. Most agents, their first question will be, are you on Spotlight? In the UK, I think that's the same as IMDb over here in America. So those are absolute requirements. And of course, when you go to apply for Spotlight, you'll find that they have their own criteria. It's a bit like the chicken and the egg.
You have to have
the work or whatever. But those are absolute necessary requirements because today, particularly for soaps, a lot of castings are done purely from the showroom. So you've got to get some sort of show reel together. That's a bit of advice. The other advice is be serious about what you do, but don't take yourself too seriously, and then you'll survive.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I say. And it is huge fun, hard work, lots of disappointments, but learn to raise your middle digits occasionally. That's all.
Like this. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause for our amazing actors and our guest actors, Colin, Ian, and Simon. Thank you, gentlemen.